welcome back to our channel, The Classroom. Today we are back with a new chapter of Physics of Class 8, that is Force and Pressure. Yes, obviously we have done the chapter of Force in Class 10, but this will be the very beginning. Force chapter I think you will be having in Class 7 also. So let's get started on with Force. So coming to the brief idea of force, what is force actually? Okay, whenever we pull or push a particular object, that particular energy is termed as force. Okay, so here whenever we do particular work, okay, a particular amount of energy is there in our body to do that work. Okay, we push or we pull a particular object, that all is just because of force. Now coming directly to the definition of force, it is actually a physical cause that tends to change the state of rest or the state of motion, or even changes the size or shape of a body. It's simply a physical cause. Okay, it's all about using our body strength, okay, to do a particular work. Now suppose there are three dividing this particular force into three types. We have a positive work done, we have a negative work done, and we have zero work done. Now what is positive work done? Suppose you are pulling a body, okay, and that, or rather you are pushing a body, and that pushing of the body is towards, that is, the movement of the body is towards the direction of the applied force. Whenever a body moves in the direction of the applied force, that is positive work done. Okay, that is, direction of the movement of the body will be equal to the direction of the applied force. That is positive work done. Now second case is, this is a diagram. This is a particular road. Okay, this is a particular object. Now this is coming down in this way. Okay, and the force that we are applying is from this direction or from the opposite direction. So if the movement of the body is opposite to the direction of the applied force, that is, the work done is said to be negative. Okay, that means this case here, the direction of the movement of the body and the direction of the applied force are opposite to each other. And third one, which I said, that work done will be zero. In that case, work done, when is it said to be zero? Either the displacement is zero, okay, or the force is zero, that is, no force is applied, or maybe the displacement is zero. Displacement can be zero only when the final position and the initial position both are same. Suppose a person is moving in a circle. Now when it is moving in a circle, the initial point and the final point both are same. So whenever the initial point and the final point are same, that in that case the displacement becomes zero. So obviously work done will be zero, because work done, we have the formula as force into displacement. Okay, so if displacement is zero, work done will be zero. Again, if force is zero, work done will be zero. And another case that can be that the displacement and the force applied is perpendicular to each other. That is perpendicular to each other. Example, one of the example is, suppose a coolie. Okay, those persons sometimes carry the luggages or the baggage in their head, and they keep walking, okay, in the platform. So their body, that person's body, is perpendicular to the plane. Okay, so this is the particular, this is a displacement that is occurring, and this is a force that is coming perpendicular to it. Okay, because the force is acting downwards and the displacement is in a straight line. So obviously this is a 90 degree formed. Okay, now why 90 degree, that we will be having in class 10, obviously not now. But you remember that while they are perpendicular to each other, that is a force and a displacement, the work done becomes zero. Okay, the work done becomes zero. So for these two cases, work done become zero. So we had three cases. First, positive work done. Second was negative work done. And third was work done is zero. Okay, so these were the three cases. Now the other one which I wanted to say is, force is of two types. One is a contact force, another one is a non-contact force. Now for contact forces, whenever we touch the object and try to move it, okay, or change the shape of the object, that is particularly a contact force. Okay, and for the other, which does not occur in contact with our force, okay, that is a non-contact force. Example is your electrostatic force of attraction, magnetic force of attraction, these are, or gravitational force of attraction, these all are force at a distance, that is non-contact force. when the two bodies are not in contact with each other, but still there is a force acting between them. Those particular type of forces are known as non-contact forces. The examples I've already said. And contact forces, obviously, whenever we are touching a body and doing some work, those particular work or forces are actually called as contact forces. Okay, like the muscular force, those are your contact force. Because whenever we are trying to, suppose I'm pushing this particular board, whiteboard, okay, so when I'm pushing, I'm using a muscular force to it. So that is again a contact force, because the two bodies are in contact with each other. Next, this was all about our force. Now coming to the units of force, now as we know, force is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass, as you know, is kg, and acceleration, as you know, is meter per second square. So your unit comes as kg meter per second square, right? Which can also be known as Newton. Okay, force, that is equal to Newton. Unit of force is Newton. Okay, and if you call for the CGS unit, this is a SI unit. If you call for the CGS unit, it is dyne. Now you have conversions for Newton to dyne, that also we can work out here. You can have a look. And one more thing, that is whenever this force is applied on a body, okay, by the gravitational force of the earth, okay, that is when a body is pulled towards the earth's surface, that is the weight. That particular force is called the weight. Okay, that is a force applied to a body by the earth's surface, okay, which pulls it towards the earth's surface. That particular force is termed as weight. Okay, there we have the unit as kgf, kilogram force. Okay, next. Now you can see I've written 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg into 1 meter per second square as the unit holds. Now 1 kg, if converted to gram, it will be multiplied with 1000, and meter, if we are converting to centimeter, we have 100 centimeter per second square. Now that means we are having 10 to the power 5 gram centimeter per second square. This is the CGS unit, and this is also can be called as dyne, so 10 to the power 5 dyne. So 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne, and 1 kgf, that is your weight. Okay, this is the unit of weight. So 1 kgf is equal to 10 Newton approx. We can also write it as 9.8. Okay, that is the exact value. So this was all about the unit of force. Next, now let's talk about the turning effect of force. You can easily see I have drawn a diagram here. This is a particular, take for example, this is a particular rigid body. Okay, not of irregular shape. Now, whenever we are taking a rigid body which is not able to move, suppose let's take a point O, which I have marked. It has a small pivoted, that is a small pivoted point through which the whole body can move, okay, in a circular direction. Now, the axis through which this particular rigid body moves, that is known as the axis of rotation. Okay, now suppose I am putting a force on the side of the rigid body. Whenever I am applying a force on the side of the rigid body, what happens is it starts moving in a particular direction. Okay, as it starts moving, it obviously moves in through this pivoted point, taking that as the center, right? Like this, suppose. Okay, it starts moving like this. So if we take the magnitude, that what is the amount of force that has been applied to the, that is at the side, at the corner of the rigid body, and if we take the perpendicular distance of the force and the pivoted point, we will get a particular term, that is moment of force. Okay, we will get a particular term, that is moment of force. So moment of force is magnitude of force, that is F, into the perpendicular distance of the force to the pivoted point, point O. Okay, so this particular distance and the magnitude of the force will give you the moment of force. Okay, so using this particular that is formula, we will be solving out some examples. I hope this particular point is very clear to you. This is a particular hole that you can consider, this particular O, that is a pivoted point, okay, through which whenever you are putting a force, this particular body is moving, okay, about this point O. Then we are calculating the moment of force. Got it? Next. Now just see the unit of moment of force, that is 1 Newton meter, okay, is the unit of moment of force. Is, we know it is magnitude of force, that is force unit into distances unit, okay. So that means 1 Newton into 1 meter, okay, because Newton is the unit of force and meter is the unit of distance. So 1 Newton into 1 meter. The 1 Newton is 10 to the power 5 dyne, we have already got it, into 100 centimeter, right, because 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So it is coming 10 to the power 7 dyne centimeter. So this is an approx value of this is dyne centimeter is a CGS and this is a SI unit. So this is an approx unit of moment of force, the conversions, okay, or the relation. So this you can study, okay, and it's very important. Next, coming to one sum so that it gets clear to you. Now see this question, calculate the moment of force of 5 Newton applied on a body at a distance of 20 centimeter from its pivoted point. So the force is given as 5 Newton and the distance given is 20 centimeter. As you know, Newton is given, that means we need meter, right, because centimeter is the CGS unit. So we have converted that, that means divided by 100 we get 0.20 meter. So for moment of force is this force, that is magnitude of the force into perpendicular distance. So 5 into 0.20 you are getting 1 Newton meter. So this is the particular solve out for the particular sum of moment of force, right. Now one small example of moment of force that I'll be giving you. There are many examples which you can go through. One of the example, that is while a driver drives a car or whatever vehicle it is, you will see the steering that he is using, right? He is applying the force on the steering, right? Not at the middle or any other places, but at the steering. The steering is attached with an axle, okay, which is connected with a like engine or wherever it is. Now that force which is applying to move the vehicle in the left hand side or in the right hand side is obviously applied at the side, that is on the steering, and not in any center position. So that is a very good example of moment of force. Next, coming to thrust. Okay, this thrust word will come whenever we come to pressure. Okay, pressure is thrust by area or thrust per unit area. Now I'll give you a difference between thrust and force. What is the difference between thrust and force? Both obviously are same. Okay, but there is one small difference between the word thrust and the force. Force can be applied in any particular direction. Okay, but thrust, okay, is always applied perpendicularly to the area. Thrust is always applied perpendicular to the area. So that is why whenever a force is applied perpendicular to a particular area, given area, that is known as thrust. And if it is applied anywhere, that is obviously called as force and not thrust. So this is a small difference between thrust and force. Okay, where to use what, that you will know accordingly. Now for pressure, as you know, pressure is always applied according to, that is wherever the area is, so it is always perpendicular. The force applied is perpendicular. In that case we'll use not force but thrust. So thrust per unit area is pressure. Now coming to pressure. Now pressure is thrust by area, that is you can just write force by area. Okay, so force unit is Newton and the area's Newton is meter square. Okay, these all are SI units. So we have Newton per meter square. That is also known as Pascal. Now we have this also, some of the units you need to know. 1 atm. Atm is also, that is atmospheric pressure. That is also a unit of force, the pressure. 1 atm is equal to 76 centimeter of mercury. Okay, this is also another one which you need to know. So this was all about the unit of pressure. Okay, so pressure definition we have already got, that is pressure is thrust per unit area. Now we have two dependency of pressure. You can simply see that pressure is proportional to force. Pressure is proportional to 1 by area. Okay, 1 by area. So we have these two things with us. Okay, now let's discuss. Whenever force will be more, pressure will be obviously more. When force will be less, pressure will be less. This is dependency. Okay, this is a direct one, and this is a indirect one or inverse one. What is the difference here? If area is less, pressure will be more. Okay, and if area is less, pressure will be more. Or like if area is less or area is more, pressure will be less. Okay, vice versa. Simply remember it is vice versa. Okay, so just let me take for example for this pressure, how is it related with area? Now one of the best example to describe this particular theory is, suppose you are standing on the sand, okay, near a beach. So whenever we are standing on foot, you will see our foot takes up a very small area, right? So the pressure applied will be more. You will see that you are sinking down fast. Okay, whenever the water comes and rubs your feet, you will see that you are sinking down fast. That is because the pressure on you is more because of the less area of contact with the sand. Okay, but suppose now you are lying down on the sand. Okay, this time you will feel that you are not anymore sinking down just as before when you were standing. Okay, the reason again is the pressure on the body now is less because the area of contact is with the whole body. Whenever area is less, pressure will be more, and whenever area will be more, pressure here will be less. Okay, just the example which I said, you can consider that. Okay, standing on the sand, that will create obviously less area, for that pressure will be more, and if you are lying down on the sand, area will be more and the pressure will be less. So there is no chance of sinking down anymore. Okay, take for another example for the second criteria, that is pressure is proportional to, that is directly proportional to force. If force is more, pressure is also more. If force is less, pressure is also less. Suppose you are keeping a small object on the bed. Okay, the amount of force that will be exerted is obviously less. Why? Because the object is applying a very less force on the bed. Okay, so the pressure will be less. But suppose now you are keeping a huge object over the bed. Obviously the pressure will also be more because the force is more. So this is the criteria or the examples for these two criterias, okay, or for these two factors of pressure. Next, coming to other examples too, but with different topics. Now coming with the liquid pressure. Now you might be wondering that pressure obviously, or like solid pressure, is obviously applied only when the object is kept on the ground, and that is a perpendicular one. The force applied is a perpendicular one, right? So pressure is exerted always towards the, that is earth's surface, okay, in one direction only, downwards. But for a liquid pressure, as you know, liquid takes up the size or the shape of the container, okay, wherever it is kept. Now whenever it is taking up the shape of the container, now this particular liquid is exerting a force in all directions, be it sideways, downwards, upwards, in all direction, right? So liquid pressure actually depends on two things. One is the height of the that is a liquid column, and the second one is the density of the liquid. These two criteria actually maintains the liquid pressure. Okay, so let's take some examples for a clarity. Now I have drawn two pictures. You can see this is of one experiment, this is of the second one. Now the first experiment is with the height of the liquid column. Okay, so here you can see this is a test tube that we have taken, and this is open at both of the ends, okay, from both of the sides. So we have taken a balloon here. Okay, so when the rubber balloon, you can see it has bulged out to some extent when the water is inside the this particular test tube, okay, or the tube, whatever you say, glass tube. But for the second one, as I am putting in more water, okay, that is the level of the water is increasing, you can see this balloon has bulged out more than this, right? That is just because of the more pressure, because of the increase in the height of the liquid, okay. So for this, you can see the height of the liquid is this much, this is H1, and for this is H2. So in that case, this is pressure 2, this is pressure 1. Obviously, pressure is, liquid pressure is directly proportional to height of the liquid column. For this also, same thing, okay. If liquid column increases, the pressure also increases. Therefore, this balloon has bulged out more. So this is a clear example to show that these two are directly proportional to each other. As height of the column, liquid column increases, pressure also, liquid pressure also increases. If and vice versa, if it decreases, pressure will also decrease. Okay. Now this, for the second experiment, this is a jar that I have taken. Okay. This also will be describing about the height of the liquid column. Now, as you can see here, till here we have filled up the jar, and this jar has 3 openings. Okay, you can take that as a beaker also, whatever, cylinder, whatever you want, with 3 openings or with 2 openings, one at the top and one near the ground. Now, as you can see, this, whenever this opening is let out, okay, these are open ones, the water will flow out through them. At the base, you will see that the speed of the water is the fastest, and you can see at the height, which is at the top, you can see the water, how it is falling, right? So now you can see that this particular is falling at a very near distance to the jar, second one is with the second tap, and third one with the one which is near to the, that is bottom of the jar, okay. So we can easily say that obviously pressure has some connectivity with the height of the liquid, okay. See, at the base it has, obviously, that is, the pressure is much more, that is, here the pressure is much more, okay. So obviously pressure has some dependency on the height, okay. As the pressure is maximum here, we have one more thing to say, that is, have you seen that the dams, okay, or the bridges which are made, you will see that the base are made very wide, okay. The base are made very wide. Suppose this is the bridge, okay. This is another connectivity, okay. This is the one, and here is the water, okay. This is a bridge over the water. You will see that the base of the bridge is made much wider, okay. Why? Because at the bottom the pressure of the liquid is much more than at the initial level, than at the top level. That is why at the bottom these structures are made much wide to withstand that pressure, okay. Because with decrease in height of the column, okay, that is inside the water, that is in the just at the base of the water body, the pressure is maximum. So to withstand that pressure, these structures are made much wide, okay. Now, as we know, air has weight, obviously, right? So in that case, the thrust, okay, per unit area on the Earth's surface applied due to the column of air is atmospheric pressure, okay. That is, whatever pressure is that we feel around us is the atmospheric pressure. It is due to the column of the air that is around us, which is the atmosphere. Now, there are so many examples, whatever we have done till now, liquid pressure, the pressure, thrust, okay, there will be numerous number of examples in your book. So please go through that. And for this atmospheric pressure, one small example that I would like to give you is, suppose we drink that cold drinks, right, or maybe juices with a straw, right. Suppose we have taken in a glass a particular juice and we are taking it with a straw. So when we take that straw, there is air filled in that straw. So when we suck it, that air goes directly into our lungs, okay, and there is a fall of the pressure inside the straw, okay, but the outside pressure is more. So that pushes or that creates a pressure or force on the liquid or on the drink to get it inside the straw and fill up that space. So that is how we just suck it and we get the liquid in our, that is, mouth. Okay, this is a one small example but very important for your purpose, that is to make this particular atmospheric pressure understand. Okay, so this is how then you might have known about that mountaineers or like people who visit the mountains and all, sometimes there is a sudden like nose bleeding. Okay, why is it so? That is again due to the atmospheric pressure. Okay, there will be much more examples, please go through that, that is very important examples. And yes, using the forces, that is force is equal to mass into acceleration, moment of force is the magnitude of the force into perpendicular distance of the force with to the pivoted point, and your pressure is equal to force by area. These all will be required to solve your questions. Okay, that will be very easy. I think it will be just by using the formula. Please try out those sums. Okay, that is very important. So this was all about pressure, force, atmospheric pressure, liquid pressure. So this was all about this chapter. So we have come to an end. If you have any problem, please do ask in the comment section. And yes, if you have liked this video, put a like, share and do subscribe. And please don't forget to press the bell icon. You will get many more notification of the chapters. Thank you and have a good day.